Well, g'day. How we going? It is race day today here at Plugger Racing headquarters. Heading off to Murray Bridge again tonight. Had a run last week at Rushworth. A bit of an interesting track, but we finished third in the final. Big congrats to Dino and Steve Hopkins, first and second. Good little drive down, good little drive back. Cool little weekend away, but this week we're off to Murray Bridge, so we're going to load this bad boy up and get underway and head over there. We're running in support of the Australian Pro Sprint title. It's a new class, basically the newest Speedway class they've got going, which is a combination, I believe, of the LSs and the 360s. So that'd be pretty cool. Small field again, but yeah, anytime we can get a run's great. So jump on board and see how we go. Cheers. See ya.
So it's not all about the quantity, it's about the quality. And the Amkers have put on a good show, and it's been pretty much the same entry week in, week out here at Murray Bridge this season. Almost 3 wide there on the exit of 2. And it is the 42 of John Stewman that leads, but he pushes wide there. That allows Plugger McCarthy to say thank you nicely. And he goes from third to first in one fell swoop there. So Plugger McCarthy, Darren McCarthy in the V24 in the lead and opening up down the back stretch. John Stewman in second. With Jake Armstrong looking on his outside again, pretty wide. Little bit of a tag on the wall there. Just in front of the VIP area. Then we go back to Frank Thierry in the 7. And Michael Corbin in the 2. But Darren McCarthy, the fastest car on the track. You can visibly see that as well. His previous lap time, 16.588. 16.588, the only one to go in the 16s. Next fastest, Jake Armstrong with a 17.178. So Plugger is absolutely flying around here. Length of the home straight lead already. Jake Armstrong didn't sound so good as he came past that time. There was a certain misfire under the 36. We'll have a listen as he come past this time by. No issues for Plugger in the 24. Wasn't so prevalent that time for Jake Armstrong, but he is safely in second place. Then we go back to John Stewman in the 42, Frank Thierry in the 7, Michael Corbin in the 2. But just as I say that Darren McCarthy was looking good and sounding good, that did not look good at all, and definitely doesn't look good down the back straight, and that could be curtains for Plugger in the 24. Bad news for Darren McCarthy, as it looks like, I'm not going to call it, but that looks like the engine has not done itself a lot of good in the V24. Whichever way you look at it, he is trying to keep it going around the outside. But it is Jake Armstrong who has thus inherited the lead in the 36. Nicely clear. Then we go back to John Stewman in the 42, Frank Thierry in the 7, and Michael Corbin in the 2. The fact that Darren has been able to coast round and get that into the centre is possibly good, but certainly what happened here on the home straight didn't look good, sound good, smell good, whichever way you want to describe it. When you get that amount of smoke coming out the back of a race car, never a good thing. Meanwhile, here we go to take the checker. It is going to be Jake Armstrong who takes the first heat tonight for the Amkers. Second going to be John Stewman in the 42, and third will be Frank Thierry in the 7. Those results.
Yeah, that heat didn't go to plan, or started off good, but got to the lead and took off, and then the old power steering fitting there that we've just fitted, they mustn't have done up tight enough, or not sure, but yeah, that come loose and squirted all the oil everywhere and lost all power steering and went up in a cloud of smoke. And anyway, we're all fixed now, and yeah, see how we go in the next one. Give it all a good old degrease. There's shit everywhere. Oil and shit everywhere. Alright, your turn, Kev. Wash all the shit off. Beautiful.
Prior to the A main as well, so we're not sure how that's going to go ahead. Steve, back to you. Amkers on the racetrack.
Amkers ready for heat number 2 for them. Green flag is down, and whatever the issue was with Plugger McCarthy in the first heat, which he disappeared in a big cloud of smoke, he's back on track, so that's all good for the V24 alongside the V7 of Frank Thierry as they go down the back stretch. Plugger on the wide outside. So great to see that he and the team have got that car back out on track, because that didn't look good, did it, after the first heat? And straight in with a good lap time there of 15.924 for Plugger. Frank Thierry running in second. Then we go back to Jake Armstrong in the 36, John Stewman in the 42, and Michael Corbin in the 2. So Darren McCarthy making up for the lost ground. Because as I said earlier on, has won the majority of the finals here this season. The one that got away was the state title when that was here. Good night that night for the Amkers. And of course, to be proven, of course, Tim Reedy, who won that night, went on to win the national title as well. So a great season for Tim Reedy and the Amkers. But it's been a good year for Darren McCarthy. And of course, fair shout to the drivers and teams, because coming here for Murray Bridge, of course, drivers based out of Mildura, with Timmins having had the vast majority of the season out, is going to be back in action over the Easter weekend. So certainly if you are looking for some Speedway on Good Friday, Timmins Speedway will be back in action on Good Friday over at Mildura. If you want to make a real Easter weekend, have Good Friday at Mildura and then back here for Easter Saturday and Easter Sunday. So white flag is out. Of course, short, sharp stuff for the supporting divisions tonight. But the 24 of Darren McCarthy looking good this time. There's been no big clouds of smoke out of the rear end, and that's all good. Plugger takes heat 2. Second is going to be Frank Thierry. Third for Jake Armstrong. And then we get John Stewman and Michael Corman to round out the heats tonight here at the Murray Machining and Sheds Murray Bridge Speedway.
Quick recap now. We've had 2 heats. First heat we got to the front, took off from everyone, then the power steering line fitting come undone, so power steering dumped its guts and pulled in. Second heat, just had it then, started out of 4. Started out of 4 for that one, and was leading it by down the back straight. Went around the outside, and then took off. And car was absolutely brilliant. Not sure where that'll put us for the final. There's only 5 cars, so it doesn't really matter. Other than that, what do you reckon, Mum? All good so far. Yep. So I've got a final to go. We've got the V main out there now, and then then we'll hopefully send it. So cheerio.
Row 2, he will find Jake Armstrong a tough nut to crack, I think it's fair to say, and Frank Thierry on his day can certainly throw a spanner in the works as well, so don't look away. Might not be a huge grid of cars, but this is going to be a competitive 15-lap journey for the Amcas tonight in their final. Frank Thierry, sponsored by Geelong Citrus Packers. Darren McCarthy, as I've said a few times tonight, has won the features on the club shows here this year for the Amcas. Looking on the outside of Frank Thierry, has he got it done? And we can say a yes to that one, or can we? Frank Thierry looks to come back, making Plugger work for this one. Jake Armstrong hanging the back end out as far as he can in the 36, but actually just scrubbed a bit of speed off there, looking to see if he can pick up some dirt on the outside. But Darren McCarthy in the lead with the fastest lap time, 15.748. 15.748, the only one to dip into the 15s. The next closest on times is Frank Thierry with a time of 16.115. 16.115, so Plugger is clear. It's fair to say. Actually, his previous lap time a whole half a second up on his nearest challengers, and you think half a second, that doesn't sound too much, but believe you me, in Speedway racing a half a second is a big gap. So Darren looking good in the 24, looking good and sounding good. Those issues that caused him to grind to a halt in heat number 1. Talking of grinding to a halt, John Stewman slow there out of turn number 4. Didn't actually grind to a halt, but certainly came to a slow, and perhaps not all good there under the hood of the 42. And Stewman in danger of perhaps finding himself lapped by our race leader. We're inside or heading towards the second half of this feature tonight for the Amcas. Second place, that's not over, because Jake Armstrong, Frank Thierry, in a very similar vein to Sam Brumfield and Kerry Weston in the street stocks. You've got one taking the high line, one taking the low line. Roughly even in times as well. So that's the fascinating battle to watch, and you can see it on your screens of clayperview.com as well. 5 laps to run in tonight's feature for the Amcas, with Darren McCarthy now up to the back, marking John Stewman in 24. Went for the gap there, but Stewman just ran wide, and Darren had to change direction and use all of his experience and put the 24 car on the inside. Of course, Darren been racing in the Amcas for many years, but had a long and successful street stock career prior to that. Michael Corman is up the track in the 2, but in the laps that remain, really don't think that Darren either has to, needs to, doesn't even probably want to put the lap back on the 2 car, because the 7 and the 36 still having their battle with a lap and a half to go. Less than that now for Darren McCarthy in the 24. White flag is out, last lap. It's whether or not Jake Armstrong can get his way around Frank Thierry in the 7. Darren, is he going to do the lap back on Corman? Inside the final turn. Needs to be a bit careful, because Michael Corman got all arms and elbows there in front of him. He takes the double checker, but that could have been scary there. Second on the line went to Jake Armstrong after spending all of those laps on the outside line. It paid off for him right at the checkered flag. So good stuff there from Jake Armstrong in second place. Frank Thierry it was for third. But on another night that's not quite been dominated as per the results, but it has been a pretty dominant force tonight once again for Darren Plugger McCarthy in 24. Results on screen. So Darren McCarthy on his victory lap. You can see him there on the screens of clayperview.com. He's already been past the green bank, and here he is just coming towards you now as we enter the home straight. I think, but look, so perhaps said that last time, that this was the last time we see the Amcas here at Murray Machining and Sheds this season. But nevertheless, it's been a good one for this man, Darren McCarthy, out of Mildura in the V24.